If the last time you hugged her felt polite, safe, almost like she was patting a golden retriever instead of holding a man, you've already lost the tension. And the truth is, she decided what you were to her in the first 3 seconds of that hug. Listen to me carefully. A hug is never just a hug. To you, it might be warmth, connection, maybe even hope. To her, it's information, it's data, it's a silent test of masculine presence, emotional confidence, and sexual polarity. And most men fail it without even realizing. When you hug her like a friend, you communicate uncertainty. Your arms wrap too gently, your chest pulls back slightly, your hands hover in safe zones like you're afraid of being misunderstood. Your energy asks for permission instead of assuming connection. She feels that hesitation instantly. And when a woman feels hesitation in a man's body, her nervous system relaxes, but not in attraction. It relaxes into familiarity, brotherhood, safety without spark. That's how you get labeled such a sweet guy. You think being careful earns you respect. In reality, it often removes mystery. Female psychology responds deeply to emotional contrast, warmth mixed with grounded strength. A hug that turns her on is not aggressive. It's not inappropriate. It's not rushed. It's calm, rooted, and unapologetically present. Presence is what most men lack. When you hug her, your body should say, I am comfortable with myself. Your chest doesn't collapse inward. Your shoulders don't tense. You don't rush to release. You allow a half-second longer than expected, not enough to be awkward, but enough to shift the emotional temperature. That subtle pause creates awareness. Awareness creates tension. Tension creates possibility. The difference between a friendly hug and a charged hug is polarity. A friendly hug is sideways, light, and quick. A charged hug is square, grounded, and deliberate. Your feet plant firmly. Your arms wrap with certainty. Your breathing stays slow. You don't squeeze desperately. You don't fidget. You hold like a man who isn't afraid of his own desire. Women read microsignals faster than you speak words. She feels whether your touch is seeking validation or offering containment. One feels needy, the other feels magnetic. And here's the part no one tells you. If she melts slightly into your chest, even for a fraction of a second, that's her subconscious responding to masculine steadiness. If she pats your back twice quickly and pulls away, she's closing the frame. That's not rejection, that's feedback. Most men panic and overcorrect. They either become colder or more clingy. Both destroy attraction. The hug that shifts everything is built on internal state. Before you even touch her, ask yourself, am I trying to get something from this, or am I expressing something? Women are drawn to men who express, not extract. When your energy says, I enjoy you, instead of, do you like me? The dynamic changes instantly. And understand this, attraction lives in emotional contrast. If you're always soft, always agreeable, always available, your hugs will reflect that predictability. There's no spark in predictability. There's comfort, yes, but comfort without polarity becomes friendship. You don't need to dominate. You need to anchor. When she steps into your arms, let her feel your stillness. Let her feel that you're not rushing to impress her. Let her feel that you're choosing to hold her, not hoping she allows it. Because the moment a woman feels chosen instead of chased, something shifts inside her. And that shift begins with something as simple and as powerful as a hug. You've been told attraction is built with words, clever texts, perfect timing, deep conversations at 2 a.m., but her body will believe what your body says long before she believes your sentences. When a woman hugs you, she is not just feeling your arms, she's feeling your nervous system. Is it calm? Is it steady? Or is it slightly shaky, slightly eager, slightly asking for approval? Her subconscious reads tension like a radar. And the uncomfortable truth is this. The friend zone hug is usually powered by subtle anxiety. Anxiety makes you squeeze too quickly. Anxiety makes you release too fast. Anxiety makes your hands move uncertainly, like you're afraid of existing fully. That energy communicates, I don't want to mess this up. And while that sounds respectful in your mind, in her body, it feels like emotional pressure. Not dangerous, not creepy, just small. The hug that turns her on comes from containment, not consumption. Containment means you're emotionally regulated. You're not trying to absorb her affection to feel worthy. You're not clinging to the moment because you're afraid it won't happen again. You're grounded enough to let the hug breathe. Here's what most men miss. Timing inside the hug matters more than the hug itself. There's a micro moment right after initial contact. Most men rush through it. The second your arms connect, pause internally, slow your breathing, let your chest expand slightly instead of collapsing. That micro pause creates depth. It signals confidence. It tells her nervous system, this man is comfortable holding space. Women are biologically wired to respond to grounded masculine presence, not loud dominance, not forced intensity, but emotional weight. When your hug carries weight, calm, steady, unrushed weight, it triggers awareness. And awareness is the beginning of arousal. Think about it. A friendly hug feels like a transaction. Quick exchange, social politeness, the kind you give coworkers or cousins. There's no shift in atmosphere. A charged hug subtly changes the air between you. It lasts 1 second longer than expected. Not awkward, not invasive, just enough for her to notice the warmth of your chest, just enough for her breath to sink for half a beat. Breath synchronization is powerful. When your breathing is slow and steady, her body instinctively mirrors it. That creates subconscious intimacy, not because you forced it, but because you didn't disturb it. If you hold tension in your shoulders, she feels guarded energy. If your hands hover too high and safe, like you're afraid of being misread, she feels emotional distance. But when your hands rest confidently, appropriate, firm, secure, without wandering or fidgeting, she feels clarity. Clarity is seductive. Women are exhausted by men who send mixed signals through touch. Too hesitant one moment, too intense the next. Emotional inconsistency kills attraction. Steady masculinity builds it. And here's another layer most men ignore. How you exit the hug. Do you pull away abruptly? That feels unsure. Do you linger awkwardly because you don't know when to release? That feels needy. The magnetic exit is smooth, slight pause, subtle release, eye contact for a brief second longer than neutral. A calm half smile, not approval seeking, not nervous, just knowing. You're not asking what she felt, you're letting her process it. That's the difference between a man who hopes and a man who knows. Hope feels fragile. Knowing feels attractive. When your hug says, I'm comfortable in my desire, but I don't need you to validate it. Her body relaxes into curiosity instead of categorizing you as safe friend energy. And once curiosity enters, the friend zone door starts to crack open. Not because you forced anything, but because you finally understood that attraction begins where nervousness ends. Let me tell you something most men never hear. She decides whether she can imagine kissing you based on how it feels to stand in your arms. Not because the hug is sexual, but because it reveals whether you create polarity or predictability. Polarity is the invisible charge between masculine and feminine energy. It's the subtle difference between being her emotional brother and being the man she feels in her stomach. And that difference is communicated through tension control. If your body goes completely soft the moment you hug her, there's no edge. If your body goes stiff and rigid, there's no flow. The sweet spot, the place that shifts her internally, is relaxed strength. Relaxed strength feels like this. Your arms close around her fully, not loosely, not halfway. Your chest doesn't retreat. Your spine stays straight. Your chin stays level. You're not towering to intimidate. You're not shrinking to seem harmless. You're simply rooted. Rooted men are rare. Most men lean in emotionally before they've established physical certainty. They oversmile. They overtalk during the hug. They laugh. Nervously. That dissolves tension. And when tension dissolves too quickly, attraction never gets the chance to spark. Silence inside a hug is powerful. When you don't rush to fill the space with chatter, she becomes aware of the physical connection. She notices your scent, your warmth, the firmness of your hold. That awareness awakens sensation, and sensation is what moves her from thinking about you to feeling you. Here's another truth. Where your focus goes during the hug matters. If your mind is racing with, does she like this? Am I doing this right? Your energy feels scattered. But if your focus is on experiencing the moment, the pressure, the temperature, the subtle shifts in her body, your presence deepens. Presence creates polarity. There's also a small detail almost no one talks about: the direction of pressure. If you squeeze inward desperately, it feels clingy. If you hold outward like you're containing rather than pulling, it feels protective. Containment triggers something ancient in female psychology: the sense of being held by someone emotionally stable. That stability is intoxicating. Women don't melt for chaos, they melt for grounded intensity. A man who can hold emotional tension without collapsing it. A man who doesn't rush to break eye contact the second it becomes charged. A man who can allow 2 beats of silence without panicking. And here's where most men sabotage themselves: they telegraph availability through their hug. If your hug says, "I've been waiting all week for this," she feels pressure. If your hug says, "This is nice, but I'll be fine either way," she feels freedom. Attraction thrives in freedom, not obligation. You must understand this clearly. You are not trying to convince her body to respond. You are creating the conditions where it naturally can. When she senses emotional self-control, her guard lowers. When her guard lowers, curiosity rises. When curiosity rises, imagination activates. And once she begins imagining you differently, the category shifts. Friend energy is flat. Desire energy has depth. Depth comes from restraint, from knowing you could escalate, but choosing not to rush, from feeling the tension, but allowing it to simmer instead of explode. The hug that turns her on isn't about duration alone. It's about emotional charge contained within calm behavior. When she pulls back and looks at you, and there's a half second where neither of you speaks, that's the moment. That's the doorway. Most men slam it shut with nervous jokes. The man who holds steady walks through it without saying a word. There's a reason some men can hug a woman once, and suddenly the energy between them changes forever. It's not luck. It's not genetics. It's emotional control under tension. By now, you understand that a hug communicates identity. But here's the deeper layer. Your hug tells her how you handle power. Yes, power. When a woman steps into your arms, she is entering your physical frame. Subconsciously, she's asking one silent question: is this man safe in his strength or careless with it? That question determines everything that follows. If you hold her too loosely, she feels uncertainty. If you grip too tightly, she feels force. But when you wrap her with grounded firmness, not squeezing, not hovering, you demonstrate regulated strength. Regulated strength is magnetic. Women are not turned on by aggression. They are turned on by controlled intensity, the kind of intensity that doesn't spill everywhere, the kind that feels contained behind calm eyes and steady breath. Here's what happens psychologically in that moment. If your body remains relaxed while holding her securely, her nervous system interprets you as emotionally dominant without being threatening. That dynamic creates polarity. And polarity is what separates desire from friendship. Most men kill polarity by over-explaining themselves after physical contact. They say things like, "Sorry, that was a long hug," or they laugh to diffuse the charge. That instantly neutralizes tension. You just told her you're uncomfortable with intensity. The man who understands female psychology doesn't apologize for grounded presence. He doesn't escalate recklessly. He doesn't linger awkwardly. He simply allows the moment to exist without shrinking it. And here's something subtle but powerful. Your hands should move with intention, not randomness. When you place your hands on her back, they stay calm. They don't rub nervously. They don't tap anxiously. Movement communicates inner state. Stillness communicates confidence. Stillness creates heat. Because when your body is calm and hers becomes slightly aware, there's contrast. And attraction lives in contrast. There's also the emotional undertone. If your hug feels like you're seeking comfort from her, she steps into a nurturing role. That's maternal energy. Maternal energy does not lead to desire. But if your hug feels like you're offering steadiness, like she can soften for a second without you collapsing, she steps into feminine energy. Feminine energy responds to grounded masculine containment. Do you see the difference? One says, "Hold me." The other says, "You're safe here." Safety combined with polarity is powerful. It allows her to feel protected without feeling pressured, desired without feeling chased. And here's where it gets even deeper. Eye contact after the hug seals the emotional imprint. When you pull back slowly and your eyes meet hers, don't dart away immediately. Don't stare intensely either. Just hold a calm, unreadable gaze for one breath longer than neutral. That breath is where imagination sparks. Imagination is the bridge between touch and desire. If you rush to speak, you pull her back into logic. If you hold steady silence, you allow her body to process sensation. The friend zone hug feels socially appropriate and forgettable. The charged hug feels subtle but unforgettable. Not because it was dramatic, not because it was inappropriate, but because it carried contained intensity. When a woman leaves your arms slightly aware of her own heartbeat, slightly conscious of the warmth you created, slightly curious about what that energy means, you've shifted categories. You didn't push, you didn't chase, you simply held your ground and let her feel it. Here's the part no one wants to admit. If your hugs keep landing you in the friend zone, it's not about technique, it's about identity. A hug amplifies who you already are. If you secretly see yourself as the nice guy hoping to be chosen, your body leaks that story. Your shoulders round slightly. Your grip asks instead of claims. Your exit feels careful, like you're afraid to disturb the connection. She feels that narrative before you ever say a word. But when you see yourself as a man who chooses, not chases, everything changes. The hug that turns her on starts hours before you see her. It starts with how you walk into the room, how you greet people, how you hold eye contact. If your energy is scattered, your hug will be scattered. If your mind is seeking validation, your touch will seek it too. Women respond to men who are internally settled. That doesn't mean arrogant, it means anchored. Anchored men don't overextend affection to secure approval. They don't squeeze harder to prove desire. They don't linger because they're afraid it's their only chance. They hug fully, then release fully. Completion is powerful. When you complete a hug cleanly, steady hold, calm breath, smooth release, grounded eye contact, you create emotional punctuation, a period, not a question mark. Most men end hugs with a question mark. They look at her face, searching for confirmation. They talk too quickly. They adjust their clothes nervously. That micro behavior screams, "Did that work?" The man who knows doesn't ask. He lets her feel it, and here's the final truth. Attraction grows in space, not pressure. If your hug carries contained intensity and you step back into composure, her mind begins replaying it later. She'll remember the firmness, the stillness, the half-second pause, the way your chest didn't collapse, the way your eyes didn't flinch. That replay is where desire builds. Desire rarely explodes instantly. It simmers in memory. It grows in unanswered curiosity. It strengthens when she can't fully decode you. When your physical presence feels grounded and slightly mysterious, you shift from predictable to intriguing. Friend energy is fully decoded. Attraction energy has layers. So the next time she steps into your arms, don't think about turning her on. Don't. Think about technique. Don't think about outcomes. Think about this instead. Stand tall, breathe slow, hold steady, release calmly. Let your body say, "I am comfortable with desire, but I am not controlled by it." That message changes everything because the hug that turns her on isn't louder, it isn't longer, it isn't forceful, it's certain. And certainty, when wrapped in warmth, is unforgettable. Now, I want to ask you something personal. When you hug her, are you hoping she chooses you, or are you showing her what it feels like to be chosen by you? Be honest with yourself. Drop your answer in the comments. I read them. And if this shifted how you see attraction, like this video, subscribe and share it with a friend who keeps getting called such a sweet guy. Someone needs to hear this.